welcome everybody to the Day of Action in Breaking Chains of Puerto Rico's Debt. I am Jessie Fuentes, the co-chair of the Puerto Rican Agenda here in Chicago. I would like to recognize all of the organizations that made this event possible, specifically the leadership of SEIU and Vamos for PR. I would also like to recognize Segundo Ruiz Belvis Cultural Center, the Puerto Rican Agenda, National Boricua Human Rights Network, the Puerto Rican Cultural Center and its projects, Albizu Campos High School, Vida Sida, the Diabetes Empowerment Center, Urban Theater Company, El Rescate, and Centro Infantil. Without all of your leadership, activism, and dedication to Puerto Rico's cause, today and all of the events across the diaspora in Puerto Rico would not be possible. So thank you. I would also like to read a letter in opening by Congressman Luis Gutierrez that he wrote specifically for today's event. It goes as follows. Dear defenders of Puerto Rico, today, March 22nd, is the anniversary of the abolition of slavery in Puerto Rico. The island was one of the last places in our hemisphere to emancipate enslaved people, but 3.5 Boricuas are still chained to misery because of an unfolding humanitarian crisis unprecedented in the island's history. In support of our Puerto Rican brothers and sisters, a coalition of groups led by Vamos for PR have organized actions across multiple cities, including Orlando, New York, Hartford, Boston, Chicago, and Seattle, to demand that Puerto Rico's Financial Control Board defend the interests of the Puerto Rican people, and not the financial governmental institutions that play a large role in creating the crisis. I want to commend those gathering today in 6 cities in the United States and those in Puerto Rico and thank them for giving voice to concerns of many. With a governor, a legislator, and a financial control board that continues to be unresponsive, and now with an administration in Washington hostile to Puerto Rican family rights and fair debt restructuring, those on the streets today are demanding the audit of the debt and rejecting any further austerity. Sincerely, your Congressman, Luis Gutierrez. Next up, I would like to introduce a man who has dedicated his entire life to the cause of the Puerto Rican people and his patria. He is the executive director of the Puerto Rican Cultural Center. He has led an anti-gentrification movement, the independence movement, and the release of his brother Oscar. He is a leader in the Puerto Rican movement here in the diaspora and on the island. Without further ado, Jose Lopez.
Let me first say that today is obviously March 22nd. In March 22nd, 1873, exactly 144 years ago, Puerto Rico celebrated the abolition of slavery. This was a movement, and it's very important that you realize this, that in Puerto Rico, unlike anywhere else in Latin America, with later the exception of Cuba, you will immediately mix the struggle for Puerto Rico's freedom with the struggle for the abolition of slavery. It's very important for us to realize that. It's also very important that on this day, we're gathered here in front of this firm, McKinsey and Company, a company that charges $1 million a month to assess and advise a junta, an oversight board of 7 members who are determining the future of Puerto Rico right now. They just met in New York City on Wall Street in the Hamilton building. Add those things together and you get an idea of who they are responding to, and that is only to the interest of the banks and not the Puerto Rican workers. And we have to be clear that today we're here to tell McKinsey to stop this. We're calling on the people of Chicago to understand the complicity of this firm with this incredibly unjust junta oversight board, which is ruling Puerto Rico and which is bringing Puerto Rico to ruins. So I really want to make sure that we understand why we're here, that we understand the importance of this moment, that we understand that this debt cannot be paid on the backs of Puerto Rican workers, just like 144 years ago in Puerto Rico, we told the ruling circles of Puerto Rico that Puerto Rico's riches could not be built on the back, and their riches on the back of the enslaved population. Thank you.
Awesome. Please give Jose Lopez another round of applause.
¡No a la Junta! ¡No a la Junta! ¡No a la Junta! ¡No a la Junta! ¡No a la Junta!
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Up next, I would like to introduce a young man who came from Puerto Rico 22 years ago and who is the chief engineer at the Humboldt Park Latino Housing. Please welcome Noel Sanchez.
Just hold this for me, please. Good morning. Good morning. Buenos días, puertorriqueños y puertorriqueñas. Buenos días. I'm a maintenance. Like I say, my name is Noel Sanchez. I'm a maintenance SAIU member, Local 1. And I have lived in Chicago for 22 years. That's too much with this kind of weather, huh? Like so many people, I came here because I can afford to live in Puerto Rico. I'm here, but my family is still in Puerto Rico, and I know they're hurting. When I call my family, I hear how hurting they are. It's hard for them to buy the basic thing they need because everything is so expensive and wages are so low. They work hard, but their jobs and benefits are getting cut. My cousin is a chemical engineer and he works full-time, but he does not get pay or benefit that he deserves. He wants to build life family, but he is stuck struggling to get by. And now the financial overboard want to lower their wages and cut necessary service like school and sanitation. We won't sit back to watch that happen, no way. We are Puerto Rican, and we are highlight our team, right? My family did not cause the economic crisis in Puerto Rico, but they are paying the price. And that's not fair, not at all. Big Band doesn't see my family like a human being. They do not care that everyone needs safe home, food, and secure job. The economic crisis will be solved by attacking working family like mine. We have to hold big bands and bands accountable. We all have a responsibility to fight for the future of Puerto Rico.
That's right.
Because 30.5 million Puerto Ricans, including my family, are depending on us. We must use our voice to tell the futures. We must use our voice to tell the finances overboard that we won't let back use this cry to make more money. No way. And we won't give up until my family, your family are safe, secure, and have a future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Noel. Up next, I would like to introduce a man who has distinguished himself in many human rights issues, from the LGBTQ issue to the immigration issue and our cause in Puerto Rico. I would like to introduce our 35th Ward Alderman, Carlos Ramirez Rosa.
Good morning, sisters and brothers. My name is Carlos Ramirez Rosa y soy el concejal del Distrito 35 aquí en la ciudad de Chicago. Y quiero decir que en este momento estamos en pie de lucha desde Chicago defendiendo a nuestras hermanas y nuestros hermanos puertorriqueños. Porque el pueblo puertorriqueño tiene que ser la prioridad, no el avaricio, no el codicio de las empresas grandes, de las empresas multinacionales. The people of Puerto Rico must come first, not the greed of multinational corporations,
right.
not the greed of the bankers.
That's right.
144 years ago on the island of Puerto Rico, the people said that you might have a legal contract that says you own another human being, but that contract is illegal, immoral, and it is wrong. 144 years later, we say to the bankers, we say to Wall Street, we say to the federal government, you may have a contract, but that contract is illegal and it is wrong. Wall Street doesn't need a payout from the people of Puerto Rico. The people of Puerto Rico need schools, they need hospitals, they need public infrastructure, they need jobs. This fight against greed isn't just happening in Puerto Rico, and it isn't just happening against this firm that's taking money and blood out of Puerto Rico. It's happening in this city, where the greed of bankers is put before our schools. It's happening at O'Hare Airport, where the greed of multinational corporations is being put before the workers that are fighting to form a union.
That's right.
So let the world know that here, the Puerto Rican community, that I'm so proud to be a member of, is fighting against the greed of the bankers and saying put people's needs before bankers' greeds. El pueblo antes el codicio de las empresas grandes. Es hora para decir no a la Junta, es hora para decir sí a la justicia en la isla de Puerto Rico.
Thank you. Up next, I would like to introduce a man that leads a ward with the highest percentage of Puerto Rican families here in Chicago. He is also the same man who has led an anti-gentrification movement in Humboldt Park, who has believed in community sustainability, and who continues to be the face for the Puerto Rican people here in the diaspora and on the island. Please give a warm welcome to my alderman of the 26th Ward, Roberto Maldonado.
¿Qué mejor lugar que estar aquí frente a esta empresa legal que le está robando $1 billón anuales para supuestamente representar los intereses de los puertorriqueños? Esto no es una representación, esto es un robo armado. I am proud to be here today to join the many voices of Puerto Ricans and their supporters throughout the nation in Chicago, Boston, Hartford, New York, Orlando, and Seattle to urge that the $72 billion debt of the Puerto Rican government is not a debt that should be on the backs of the Puerto Rican working class. We are here to state the truth that an unfair and unjust U.S. colonial system imposed on the island since 1898 is responsible for this debt. It is a system which has not permitted the island's economic potential to fully develop. We are here to demand the restructuring of that debt by securing a moratorium on its payment. We need a thorough and complete audit of that debt and the use of other mechanisms that would not place an undue burden on the backs of the Puerto Rican families. We're here to propose an economy for Puerto Rico which is fair to its workers by protecting and expanding workers' rights, including the right to organize and to a decent living wage. We're here to urge for long-term economic development solutions to sustain a Puerto Rican economy which makes use of renewable energy, tourism, and agriculture. We are here to say, la culpa es de los bancos y no de los trabajadores.
It is at this time that we will take questions, and Jose, and we invite our alderman and Noel to answer the questions, if any.
So if there are any questions from the press, si hay alguna pregunta de la prensa, quisiéramos entretenerlo ahora. So, ¿hay alguna, any questions or? Okay. Así es que le damos las gracias a todos ustedes. We thank all of you. We thank SCIU for helping in this mobilization. And Vamos por Puerto Rico for taking this initiative across the diaspora in the United States. We think this is just the beginning of a fight that we must have and we must take. It's the beginning because there are certain elements in our community who are actually actively supporting the junta. And they're doing, and unfortunately, they're doing it through very insidious means. And one of those happens to be a state representative who just introduced a resolution supporting state of Puerto Rico. There is nothing wrong with supporting state of Puerto Rico. What is wrong is to do it in a way that does not speak about what the Puerto Ricans really want.
That's right.
And statehood is the end, and is the unfortunate end of Puerto Rico. So I want to make sure that we understand that there are a lot of underhanded means that certain people are using so they could change somehow the mindset of the Puerto Rican people. The Puerto Rican people are clear that colonialism has to end.
Yes.
And the only way that it can end is through a process of self-determination that is governed by international law and that gives the right of the Puerto Rican people to decide for independence, free association, or statehood. But imposing one of these by acts of Congress without the Puerto Rican people being consulted is not right.
right.
And what we have right now is an attempt to depopulate Puerto Rico. 50,000 people a year leave Puerto Rico. We're talking about economic refugees. And we think about problems across the world. Puerto Ricans, as Noel stated very clearly here, who represents those 50,000 Puerto Ricans who have had to leave Puerto Rico, really attest to the fact that we got a crisis, a refugee crisis in Puerto Rico, a fiscal crisis, and a humanitarian crisis. Thank you very much.